I set up a hidden camera to watch my crazy roommate and caught him ordering a hit on me. Finding a decent roommate is always a massive gamble. You can run all the background checks you want and scroll through their social media profiles for hours, but you never actually know someone until you share a living space. I moved into a great 3-bedroom apartment about a year ago. The rent was a bit steep for one person, so I posted an ad online looking for a roommate. I met a few absolute weirdos before I finally interviewed a guy named Marcus. He was 26, worked a stable job in logistics, and had excellent credit. He dressed well, communicated clearly, and seemed like the kind of guy who would just pay his half of the bills and stay out of the way. I offered him the room the very next day. For the first 4 months everything was completely normal. Marcus was exceptionally clean. We had totally different work schedules, so we rarely bumped into each other in the kitchen. It was the perfect roommate dynamic. Then the extremely subtle red flags started appearing. It started with my mail. I am highly organized and I always sort my mail into specific piles on the kitchen counter. One evening I came home from the gym and noticed an envelope from my bank was slightly torn at the corner. The adhesive flap looked like it had been peeled back and hastily pressed down again. I brushed it off. I figured it got caught in the sorting machine at the post office. 2 weeks later I was looking for my passport. I keep a fireproof lockbox at the top of my bedroom closet where I store my birth certificate, my social security card, and my passport. I always leave the key in a specific drawer in my bathroom. When I opened the lockbox I instantly knew someone had been inside. The documents were completely out of order. My social security card was sitting on top of my passport instead of tucked inside the side pocket where it belongs. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. I realized Marcus was going into my room while I was at work. I assumed he was struggling with money and was snooping around for cash or looking to steal my identity to open credit cards. I checked all my bank accounts and pulled my credit reports, but everything was completely untouched. No new accounts and no weird charges. I was completely baffled. I decided I was not going to confront him without hard proof. If I accused him and I was wrong, it would make the living situation incredibly toxic. I needed undeniable evidence. I went online and ordered a high-definition spy camera hidden inside a functioning smoke detector. The camera arrived on a Tuesday. I waited until Marcus left for his evening shift and then I swapped out the smoke detector in the main hallway. The camera had a perfect unobstructed view of my bedroom door, the front door, and the kitchen table. It was connected directly to a secure cloud server and I could watch the live feed from an app on my phone. I went to bed feeling extremely clever. I figured I would catch him sneaking into my room, confront him with the video, and kick him out by the end of the month. I had absolutely no idea I was about to uncover my own scheduled execution. The next morning I left for work at 8 o'clock. Marcus usually had Wednesdays off, so I knew he would be home alone all day. I spent my entire morning in back-to-back meetings. Around noon I finally sat down at my desk with a sandwich and opened the camera app on my phone to check the recorded motion events. There were 3 separate video clips. I clicked on the first clip. It was from 9 in the morning. Marcus walked out of his bedroom holding a thick manila folder and a secondary cheap burner phone. He did not look like his usual calm self. He looked incredibly tense. He paced back and forth in the kitchen for a few minutes before sitting down at the dining table right in the center of the camera frame. He placed the burner phone on the table and hit the speaker button. The audio was crystal clear. The phone rang twice before a man with a very deep and raspy voice answered. The man simply said he was ready for the details. Marcus opened the manila folder. I watched through the screen of my phone as my roommate started reading my exact daily schedule out loud. He gave the man on the phone the make, model, and license plate number of my car. He told the man exactly what time I left for the office and exactly what time I pulled into the parking garage. My heart started pounding against my ribs. I stopped chewing my food. My entire body went completely rigid. Marcus continued talking. He told the man that I always go to a specific local gym on Thursday nights and I usually walk back to my car through a poorly lit alley behind the building. The man on the phone asked Marcus how he wanted it to happen. Marcus did not even hesitate. He leaned forward and stared blankly at the wall. He told the man it needed to look like a random street robbery gone terribly wrong. He explicitly stated that there could be absolutely no connection back to the apartment and I could not survive the encounter. He said the job had to be completely final. The man on the phone agreed and asked about the payment structure. Marcus explained that he had secretly taken out a massive life insurance policy on me 6 months ago. He had forged my signature and named himself as the sole beneficiary under the false claim that we were business partners who owned a startup together. The policy was worth $750,000. Marcus promised the man a flat fee of $50,000 in untraceable cash the exact moment the insurance company cleared the payout. The hit was officially contracted for Thursday night. Tomorrow night. The video clip ended. I sat at my desk in my busy office completely paralyzed. The fluorescent lights above me suddenly felt blinding. The air was sucked out of my lungs. The guy who drank my coffee, the guy who complained about the weather with me, the guy who lived 15 feet away from where I slept was actively orchestrating a hit on me for an insurance payout. I ran to the office bathroom and locked myself in a stall. I violently threw up my lunch. The sheer psychological terror of the situation completely overwhelmed me. I wanted to run out to my car and drive hundreds of miles away. But pure survival instinct kicked in. The man on the phone knew my car, he knew my face, and he knew my gym routine. If I just disappeared, Marcus would realize I knew about the plan and he would just send the guy to hunt me down somewhere else. I needed to go to the police right now. I left the office without telling my boss. I drove straight to the Central Police Precinct downtown and demanded to speak to a major crimes detective. I was shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. A veteran detective named Harris took me into a small interrogation room. I placed my phone on the metal table and played the video footage for him. Detective Harris watched the screen with absolute intense focus. When the video finished, he did not say a single word. He immediately stood up, left the room, and came back 5 minutes later with his captain and 2 other investigators. They hooked my phone up to a computer and downloaded the raw footage directly from the cloud server. Harris sat down across from me and looked me dead in the eye. He told me the evidence was rock solid, but there was a massive problem. If they went to my apartment and arrested Marcus right now, the guy on the phone would immediately go completely underground. They had absolutely no idea who the contracted professional was. If they did not catch both of them, the guy might still carry out the hit just to tie up loose ends, or Marcus might bond out of jail and hire someone else. Harris told me they needed to catch the guy red-handed. They needed to run a sting operation. And to make it work, I had to be the bait. I felt the blood drain entirely from my face. I told Harris he was out of his mind. I refused to go anywhere near that alley. Harris calmly explained the plan. They were not going to let me walk into the dark alley. They were going to intercept the hitman before he even got close to me. But to keep Marcus completely in the dark, I had to go back to my apartment tonight and act like absolutely nothing was wrong. I had to eat dinner with the man who put a price on my head. I had to sleep in my bed knowing a professional was gearing up to take me out the next day. It was the most terrifying proposition of my entire life. But Harris promised me they would have a surveillance van parked on my street all night and undercover officers would follow me the entire next day. I realized it was the only way to permanently end the nightmare. I reluctantly agreed. I drove back to my apartment at 6 o'clock that evening. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were completely white. I parked in my assigned spot and walked up the stairs to my unit. I unlocked the front door and walked inside. Marcus was standing in the kitchen chopping vegetables for a salad. He looked up, smiled warmly, and asked me how my day at work was. The level of psychopathy required to smile at a person you are paying to eliminate is something I will never be able to comprehend. It took every single ounce of willpower in my body not to sprint out the front door. I forced a fake smile, put my keys on the counter, and told him work was just fine. I went to my room and closed the door. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall for hours. I listened to Marcus watching television in the living room. Every time the floorboards creaked, my heart skipped a beat. I was fully convinced he was going to change his mind and just take me out himself right there in the apartment. I did not sleep a single minute that night. I laid in the dark with my shoes on and a heavy metal flashlight gripped tightly in my hand. The next morning I went through my normal routine. I showered, made coffee, and grabbed my work bag. Marcus was sitting on the couch drinking tea. He told me to have a great day and reminded me to pay the electric bill before the weekend. He was perfectly calm. I walked out to my car and drove to the office. I spotted an unmarked dark gray sedan tailing me exactly 3 car lengths behind. It was Detective Harris and his team. Knowing they were there gave me a tiny sliver of comfort, but the anxiety was still suffocating. I barely survived the workday. I could not focus on a single spreadsheet or email. My brain was completely consumed by the ticking clock. At 5 o'clock I packed my bag and left the office. It was time for the sting. I drove to my local gym just like I did every single Thursday. I parked my car in the front lot and walked inside. I swiped my membership card and went straight to the locker room. Harris had specifically instructed me to stay completely out of sight once I was inside the building. I locked myself in a bathroom stall and waited. Outside the gym, the police had completely locked down the perimeter. Undercover officers in plain clothes were positioned at every single exit. A tactical team was hiding inside an unmarked moving truck parked right at the entrance of the dark alley behind the building. At exactly 6:30 my phone buzzed. It was a text message from Harris. The message simply said the target was in sight. A tall man wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt and a medical face mask had just walked into the alley. He was carrying a heavy canvas duffel bag and pacing back and forth near the back exit of the gym. He was checking his watch constantly. He was waiting for me to finish my workout and walk out the back door to my car. Harris gave the command over the radio. The back doors of the moving truck flew open. 6 heavily armed tactical officers swarmed the alley with their weapons drawn. They completely blinded the man with heavy strobe flashlights and screamed at him to get on the ground. The man was completely caught off guard. He dropped the canvas bag and immediately surrendered. The officers cuffed him and searched the bag. Inside they found a loaded heavy caliber handgun with the serial numbers completely filed off, a thick roll of duct tape, zip ties, and a printed photograph of my face. The photograph was taken from my own social media profile. At the exact same moment the tactical team took down the hitman, a secondary police unit was actively breaching my apartment. They kicked the front door entirely off the hinges. Marcus was sitting at the dining table eating dinner when 4 officers tackled him to the floor. They seized his laptop, his personal phone, and the cheap burner phone he used to orchestrate the entire contract. They found the fraudulent life insurance policy documents hidden at the bottom of his bedroom closet. Harris called me 20 minutes later. He told me the area was secure and both men were in custody. I finally broke down crying in the gym locker room. The sheer relief of knowing I was going to live to see tomorrow completely washed over me. The aftermath of the arrests was a complete whirlwind. I spent the next 3 days sitting in police interview rooms giving official statements and handing over every single piece of footage from the hidden camera. The man Marcus hired was a career criminal with a massive rap sheet. He immediately cut a deal with the district attorney. He confessed to everything and agreed to testify against Marcus in exchange for a lighter sentence. The trial was incredibly fast because the video and audio evidence was completely bulletproof. The jury watched the footage of Marcus sitting at our kitchen table casually discussing how to make my fatal incident look like a random street robbery. They heard him explicitly promise $50,000 in exchange for my permanent silence. Marcus never even took the stand to defend himself. His defense attorney had absolutely nothing to work with. The judge sentenced Marcus to 40 years in state prison without the possibility of early parole for conspiracy and extreme fraud. I immediately broke my lease and moved out of that apartment. I threw away all my furniture because I could not stomach the idea of sleeping on the same mattress or sitting at the same dining table where my execution was planned. I moved to a different city and bought a small house. I live completely alone now. I installed a massive state-of-the-art security system with cameras pointing at every single entrance. I still have nightmares about the cold dead look in his eyes when he asked me how my day was. I check my credit reports and my life insurance policies every single month. I will never have another roommate for as long as I live. You can run all the background checks in the world, but you never truly know what kind of monster is sleeping in the bedroom right next to yours. Subscribe for more daily videos.